The world's largest serial killer might never have been caught if he knew how to operate a computer. Imagine a person committing serial killings who is also a friend of his victims, a well-known figure in the city, and a doctor as well. This astonishing story is about Dr. Harold Shipman, who used his clinic not to save lives but to take them. In a small town named Hyde, England, where only 30,000 people lived, he continued his serial killing for 23 years, right under everyone's noses, causing over 250 people to sleep the eternal sleep. Even after putting so many people to death, no one suspected Dr. Harold Shipman, and perhaps they never would have if he hadn't made a small mistake. What were the reasons for his killings? Why was he not caught for such a long time? What clue did the police find that exposed years of murder in an instant? Let's find out. Dr. Harold Shipman primarily targeted patients who were elderly and lived alone, whose deaths would raise no suspicion. Dr. Shipman spent a lot of time with these patients, visiting their homes to listen to their problems, making them feel that even though they were alone, he was there to hear them. Some patients trusted Dr. Shipman so much that they even gave him the keys to their homes. Due to this attitude, he became quite famous in Hyde, as people thought Dr. Shipman only treated the elderly with care. However, under this guise, Dr. Shipman found out who was alone at what time, how much wealth and property they had, who visited them, and where their relatives lived. Once Dr. Shipman felt satisfied, he would give his patients an overdose of medication and kill them. Because these patients were usually over 80 years old, no one suspected anything. This continued for many years without anyone even considering that he might be involved. This only changed when he made a mistake. Dr. Shipman started his career in a town named Pontefract, 70 kilometers away from Hyde, where he worked in a hospital. Then in 1974, he left Pontefract for Todmorden, where he took a position as a general practitioner at the Abraham and Morad Medical Center. During his time there, he prescribed excessive quantities of a drug called pethidine, which is actually a painkiller but a highly addictive medication. Dr. Shipman had a habit of abusing pethidine and deliberately prescribed it to patients who didn't need it. This led patients to feel very good after taking the medication, although they were unaware that they were becoming addicted. This is why Shipman's patients were unwittingly attracted to him. After being caught, the hospital administration dismissed Dr. Shipman, and the situation escalated to the point where his medical license was about to be revoked. However, Shipman managed to avoid having his license canceled. After spending some time in a rehabilitation center, once everyone forgot about him, he returned to Hyde in 1977, where he became a general practitioner at Donnybrook Medical Center. He continued practicing as a GP in 1980, and during this time, he neither gave up drugs nor ceased his killings of elderly patients. However, the frequency of these murders increased significantly from 1993, when he opened his own clinic in Hyde and established a good reputation in the city. For several years, everything continued like this, and no one suspected the doctor's activities. For the first time in March 1998, Dr. Linda Reynolds, who worked at a hospital opposite Shipman's clinic, expressed concern about the high mortality rate among Shipman's patients. She noted that Shipman, who operated a small clinic, had 16 patients die within the last 3 months, while Brooks Surgery, which had 3 times as many patients, recorded only 14 deaths in the same period. The suspicion further increased when it was discovered that all 16 of Shipman's patients were not buried but cremated. It's important to note that most Christian people bury their loved ones after death, with only a few choosing cremation. Dr. Linda expressed her concerns in a report to the Manchester coroner, detailing that most of Shipman's 16 patients were elderly women who were found dead in their homes. It cannot be mere coincidence that most of these patients died while Dr. Shipman was present or had just visited them and found them dead, which is not normal in any way. Based on this report, an investigation was initiated, but the police found no solid evidence against Dr. Shipman, and the investigation was closed after a month. When Dr. Harold Shipman's patients died, he would personally sign the Form B, which is a form that the treating doctor must sign to state the cause of death. The problem was that the Form C, which had to be signed by another doctor, was often signed by doctors who were friends with Shipman or by those who did not suspect him. This way, Shipman wrote false information on the death certificates of his patients and easily sent them for cremation, without raising any suspicions. Because of this process, many deaths remained uninvestigated, allowing Shipman to easily conceal his killings. After the investigation was closed, Shipman killed 3 more people, but the time for his capture was approaching. Shipman's last victim was 81-year-old Kathleen Grundy, the former mayor of Hyde who died at home on June 24, 1998. Dr. Shipman was the last person to see Kathleen alive. He later signed the death certificate, stating the cause of death is old age. Kathleen's daughter, Angela Woodruff, who was also a lawyer, began to suspect something when she found a will in which her mother left her house to Dr. Shipman. Shipman was quite close to the family, and the will alone didn't raise suspicion. But Angela was concerned because her mother owned 2 houses, yet the will only mentioned 1 house, indicating that this will was written by someone who didn't know about the second house, which was Dr. Shipman. Angela Woodruff went to the police, who reopened the investigation. Kathleen Grundy's body was exhumed for an autopsy, which revealed high traces of diamorphine, also known as heroin, in her body. When the police questioned Dr. Shipman, he claimed that Grundy was a heroin addict and that he had documented this in her medical records before treating her. Dr. Shipman had recently begun entering information into computerized medical journals, but he didn't realize that he had recorded a date before her death, while the last edit date for that file was automatically saved in the computer. When the police investigated these entries, they discovered that they were not enough to arrest Shipman, but they also found the typewriter he had used to write the false will. This was revealed because Shipman's typewriter had some missing characters, and the same characters were also missing from Grundy's will. On September 7, 1998, the police arrested the notorious Dr. Harold Shipman in Hyde. When this came to light, many others whose loved ones had been killed by Shipman came forward. They had suspected something, but had not spoken out against the city's well-known doctor. The police investigated 15 other patients who had died at Shipman's hands not long before. A specific pattern was observed in all these cases where the patient was given a lethal dose of diamorphine. Shipman signed their death certificates and the cause of death was listed as old age. Shipman also recommended cremation to ensure that all evidence would be destroyed. During the inquiry, all the cases of patients who died under Shipman's care were reviewed. The inquiry team examined all the documents, death certificates, and medical records that Shipman had handled. Additionally, interviews were conducted with the families of those who had relatives under Shipman's care, and some bodies were exhumed for forensic post-mortems. This process was very detailed, and it was revealed that Shipman had killed a total of 218 patients from 1975 until his arrest. This number is confirmed, but due to a lack of evidence in many cases, it could not be validated. There is an estimate that this number could be as high as 260. The court sentenced Shipman to death for 15 murders, but he committed suicide by hanging himself with a bedsheet in his cell. After his death, one of his prison mates astonishingly claimed that Shipman confessed to having killed not 260, but 508 people. This is something Shipman himself reportedly told him. However, the real reason for Shipman's numerous killings has never been uncovered. Some people describe him as a psychopath, others as someone looking for a way to make money, and some believe it might be related to his mother's death. His mother, who was a cancer patient, was given morphine as a painkiller. Experts believe that Shipman perhaps wanted to see his patients die in the same way. I hope you like this video and share it abundantly. If you want more such videos, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss any video. Thanks for watching.